How is it going, everyone? We have some pretty exciting news regarding the development and the plans for the sequel of Stellar Blade 2. Stellar Blade was a gigantic success. I think everybody saw it as a foregone conclusion that the game would be getting a sequel, but it has been confirmed that the game will, in fact, be getting a sequel. There were some rumblings of it coming out before 2027. I think that is a pipe dream, given that Stellar Blade, the first one, came out in 2024. A 2-year turnaround time in game development these days is just absolutely unheard of. I would think 2027, 2028 even makes a lot more sense, and even 2028 would be just a 4-year turnaround time, and that is still much faster than other development studios with a 5 to 7 year development turnaround time. But we'll talk about that and what they spoke on. Genki Japan has a translation of what they said, so we'll go over that. And Octopath Traveler 0 is out later this year. I know it's kind of a more bridge the gap kind of Octopath Traveler game. It's not really an Octopath Traveler 3, but I'm still excited for it. I'm still looking forward to it based on how good Octopath 1 and 2 were, so we'll talk that at the end of this video. But right off the top, Genki Japan did note, Shift Up say they are currently developing a Stellar Blade sequel that will have an expanded worldview and enhanced gameplay. We are actively pursuing the franchise development of the Stellar Blade IP and are currently developing a sequel to Stellar Blade. This sequel will inherit the action-packed nature of the original Stellar Blade while incorporating an expanded worldview and enhanced gameplay, further solidifying its position as a franchise IP. We anticipate that this will result in even greater successes than the original. Shift Up say they plan to develop various works related to Stellar Blade and expand the IP. Expanded world universe setting may be more accurate translation instead of worldview, as noted by Genki Japan. I am very excited for what they could do with Stellar Blade 2. Obviously, with Stellar Blade 1, they had a lot of resources to work with, but you could tell they kind of had to cut some corners here and there, especially from the narrative output. That seems to be the biggest criticism people had with Stellar Blade as far as the narrative goes. I think the narrative is fine, and I really do think Stellar Blade is a game that's carried by its really, really slick and stylish action gameplay. I think that is top-notch. Obviously, you know, the aesthetically pleasing main character doesn't hurt, but underneath all of that, you have to have a quality game. I think people constantly think, oh my god, people just play Stellar Blade because it's Gooner bait. Look, there's a lot of Gooner bait on Steam that's available readily, and a lot of it is not doing very well. Stellar Blade had to have a fundamentally solid game underneath the hood, and it's a fundamentally solid game that does have some issues. And whoa there, dude, people want to play as a aesthetically pleasing main character in a character-driven action title. Whoa, dude, you're blowing my mind here. Wow, that's so insane. Like, I mean, how long for eons and eons have games put a lot of emphasis into how their character is designed in a single-player, character-driven game? Look at Dante from Devil May Cry, Clive from Final Fantasy 16, and I bring up the male characters here to give you guys, you know, from that vantage point. I feel like those characters, they put a lot of emphasis into their design choices. That's not a bad thing. You should put a lot of emphasis into your main character design choices. That's gonna be one of the pivotal promotional vehicles for the game. They're gonna be plastered all over the marketing material and the cover of the game. Wow there, dude. But nonetheless, the game is great from a gameplay standpoint, soundtrack standpoint. Visuals, I think, are solid, especially on Unreal Engine 4. The game, I feel like, runs so well, while still looking great. I am curious how they can expand the world and how much emphasis they'll put in the narrative. I don't think it has to be this overwhelming narrative with twists, turns, big budget cutscenes left, right, and center, you know, 20-minute cutscenes. I don't think Stellar Blade needs to be that. I think if you have a solid story and you expand the world via other mediums, I think that's all that people want. I don't even think having a solid story, yes, it would be beneficial for Stellar Blade 2, but I don't think it'll be this make or break element. People will appreciate it, and people will be like, okay, that's a nice addition to the game if they put more emphasis into the story, but I think people would be down to check it out if the story quality was at the same level of Stellar Blade, which, let me say, Stellar Blade 1 does not have a bad narrative. It's just not something that's absolutely blow away, and you don't have a million 20-minute cutscenes or 30-minute cutscenes that you have to sink your teeth into. I still think there's something solid there. And I think with the sequel, all they have to do is build upon the successes of the first game, and that's literally it. What I am curious about after the success of the PC release of the game, would it be a PC release day one? Sony did publish both the PlayStation and PC versions of Stellar Blade, and I would assume if they do want to build Stellar Blade into this marquee IP that they can build around, Sony would want to handle the publishing of that as well, because that could be a literal pillar IP for them as far as creating another mascot for PlayStation. Eve can absolutely be that in terms of one of those characters that is one of those mascots for PlayStation. I think you can get her to that level. Like, I like Aloy from Horizon, but I just feel like Horizon has lost a lot of steam. We'll see. You know, Horizon hasn't had an entry since 2022, and Horizon sold millions upon millions of copies, so that might be a little bit too big of a stretch, but at the same time, Horizon is scheduled to wrap up its trilogy with Horizon 3, so I don't know what Guerrilla is going to do after that. I think Stellar Blade is going to be an IP that's going to be here for a very, very long time, and I think as far as mascots for PlayStation goes, if PlayStation wants to continue publishing the game, I don't know what the agreement between Shift Up and PlayStation is as far as who does the publishing for the sequel, but I would imagine that PlayStation must have wanted to have some sort of conversations with Shift Up of handling the publishing and having some sort of exclusivity with the sequel, although, you know, their exclusivity plans, you know, some people think is changing. We'll see if Stellar Blade ever releases on Xbox or if it comes to Nintendo platforms, and it was always a second-party title. Shift Up is not owned by Sony, so I am curious on how all of that will be handled. But as far as the sequel goes, I would say tentatively expect it to come out maybe end of 2027. If it gets pushed to 2028, that's not even that bad. Look, 2027, if they actually get it out by 27, that's incredible, given that, again, that's only 3 years after the original, and a 3-year turnaround time for game development these days is pretty much unheard of. 4 years is almost unheard of. Naughty Dog hasn't put out a game by the time Intergalactic comes out for 7 years. 7 years, you guys. Guerrilla, it'll probably be 5 years by the time Horizon 3 comes out, if it comes out in 2027. It might not even be out in 2027. Sucker Punch hasn't put out a game in 5 years with Ghost of Tsushima, so the idea of 2026 was always a pipe dream. 2027, damn near, it could be a pipe dream, but 2028, I think it could be also a big title to be a PlayStation 6 launch title, maybe make it a cross-gen game, which I think makes a lot of sense. Moving on from that, I do want to note that Octopath Traveler 0 has detailed its story of revenge, companions, and key systems of the game. Remember that Octopath Traveler 0 is a more refined version of the mobile title, but they are improving it a lot. They're expanding it. Set in the world of the original Octopath Traveler 0 is a story of revenge and restoration surrounding the Divine Rings. This time we will introduce the story of revenge against those who destroyed the protagonist's hometown, the travelers who will adventure together, as well as details about the protagonist's job, town building, and action skills. The town building is a big aspect of the game, and they have highlighted several characters. A hero who leads a band of former criminals and rules the town of Emberglow with an iron fist. He visits the protagonist's town and sets it ablaze. That is the Master of Power, Tytos the hero. You've got August the playwright, the greatest playwright renowned in the City of Arts, Theatropolis. He visits the protagonist's hometown in the midst of tragedy and uses the frenzied people as inspiration for his work. Companions on your adventure have been highlighted as well, all of them fitting into a different job criteria, and this is still Octopath Traveler from a presentation standpoint that you know and love, and I think fundamentally from a gameplay standpoint, it's gonna be a lot of what you know and love. I don't think it's gonna be this gigantic, expansive experience, like if you're expecting Octopath Traveler 3 out of this. I think that's also why it's priced at $49.99, but hey, I'm down with it, and more Octopath Traveler is definitely a good thing, and having this game on consoles I think will be great, expanding it quite a lot, and I'm sure Octopath Traveler 3 will at some point come to fruition. But that is gonna do it for me. Again, we've got a lot of updates on Stellar Blade's potential sequel. I mean, we don't even have to say potential at this point. It's happening, and it looks like they're gonna put more of an emphasis on the narrative. And Octopath Traveler 0 has gotten some new details. I know a lot of people aren't excited that much about Octopath Traveler 0, but I would still have it on your radar. If you don't want to pay $50 for it, pick it up down the line for, you know, $30, $25. I think it'll be a great pickup. And Octopath Traveler 0 will be officially released on pretty much every platform: PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch 2, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC on December the 4th, so you're going to be capping off the year with Octopath Traveler 0. That's going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.